It's great to be here at Rainier Beach at the South Shore K-8 school. I want to thank the K-8 principal, Justin Henriksen, for hosting us, and also thank our sign language interpreters, Karen Carlson and Elizabeth Rothman. Today is a day of opportunity for Seattle's streets, neighborhoods, and communities. It's the day the mayor unveils his draft transportation levy proposal for a month of public dialogue. The mayor's levy proposal offers a balanced and practical set of investments to maintain and modernize our streets and bridges. Informed by the Seattle Transportation Plan, our asset management strategy, and our strengthened Vision Zero program, the proposed investments will produce a safer, better connected, and more reliable transportation system for all. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell.
Thank you, Greg. I noticed the people in the rain aren't clapping as enthusiastically on a great April day. I'm very excited to be here. I'm going to say a few words about what we're actually celebrating, the start of a discussion. Let me say a few things first. SDOT, you rock. You rock. Thank you, Greg Spots. And, you know, this levy that we're here to talk about was designed from what I'll just sort of describe as a wonderful One Seattle approach. We took input from every diverse community we could be in. We are particularly here in this particular zip code because we know in this side of the town, like other parts of the town, we have issues of equity and issues of safety. And so we wanted to be here to recognize that this is the work that we signed up to do as public servants. We took input from diverse communities, neighborhoods, everyone that uses different modes of travel to combine it into what we think is a great package. The folks here today represent neighbors and businesses and unions and construction trades, bike and pedestrian advocates, champions of transit, environmental leaders. Hell, if they could yell, they're part of our team. Because we want to yell and we want to listen because we are passionate about making sure Seattle is a safe place and that we get from A to B for our families and for our friends. To create a vision for One Seattle, we really need that input from everybody. Our transportation department has been working on this for over a year, 12 months of discussion, and it was this vision for our future that we hope to create because we know that we need a transportation system that works for everybody. When I was running for office a few years ago, we had an office out on the north end, and a young lady showed up to help. And she was blind, and she showed up with a bad abrasion on her forehead, and she said she had to take 3 buses to get to our headquarters to help. And when I walked her back to the bus stop, and this a few years ago, I realized that in order to be a good transportation leader, we have to look at it from all lenses, even from those who cannot see, those who are disabled, those who use one mode of transportation over the other. So as mayor, we wanted to create a city that is safe for all people, whether we're talking about public safety in terms of crime or transportation safety. It is all about making sure we can be who we want to be in a safe environment. Families, workers, visitors should be able to travel easily and safely to live, work, and shop and have fun together, regardless as to how they get from A to B. This bashing of modes of travel will not happen under a One Seattle approach. We need safe, reliable, and connected transportation systems that will recognize that. Now, our current levy funds nearly 30% of Seattle's budget for transportation mobility. We know that it expires at the end of this year. Past levies, we must recognize, largely because of the work of you all. I've only been a mayor for a couple of years. I have been a city employee for a long time, but I'm not going to take any credit. Past levies delivered 500 lanes of paving, 345 blocks of new sidewalks, 261 safe routes to school projects, and raise your hand if you had anything to do with that. Raise all your hands, because all you did. They've made Seattle greener with 9,000 trees, accessible with over 3,000 curb ramps, better connected with over 300 transit improvements. But dare I say that's in the past. I only look in the past a little bit. Now we're looking forward. Our proposal now, an 8-year, $1.35 billion levy renewal that we're laying out right now. And I need to make this clear because we've briefed the media and we've talked to a lot of you. This is something we developed. That this is clearly the biggest levy in our history. This is big ball for what we're trying to do, reflecting what we need to do and what kind of investments we need to have to make sure our future is safe. The proposal reflects community input and cost to maintain and rebuild our infrastructure and build projects that will move our city forward. I must make it clear, and I think many of you know how the levy process works. This is the beginning of a discussion. This is the result of 12 months of, and I said this when we announced the East Marginal Way project yesterday from the old levy. Note to self, muffler law must be on the books. I said that this is the beginning of a discussion. We listen, and we'll continue to listen. We are laying this out for the public to see, but we certainly did not do this in a vacuum. Our proposal is designed to move you safely, reliably, and sustainably to keep our economy humming. This levy is critical for our future, as we said. Now, let me break it down a little more into a few buckets. Let's talk about safety. We will repair 34,000 urgent sidewalk defects and construct 250 blocks of new sidewalks and 10,000 curb ramps. We will improve bike network with barriers, maintenance, and closing gaps. And one of the things I've talked about publicly is that when we look at different modes of travel, such as bicycle safety, we have to be in front of allowing that. In other words, we have to make sure it's safe for everybody. So we're building safety project corridors on streets where we recognize there have been the most crashes, most collisions. Reliability. No matter how you travel, we will repave 15 of our busiest streets and improve lighting and crosswalks. We'll update signals on 40 corridors and install more to improve flow and safety. A conversation about transportation cannot omit bridges, the bridges that our city relies on. And all of us have watched with perhaps fear what happened in Baltimore. And I've had an exchange with the Baltimore mayor on what they're going through over there. We have to address the maintenance backlog of Seattle's bridges and improve the conditions of this critical infrastructure. Seattle has 135 bridges connecting neighborhoods over water and valleys, whether stationary or movable. All travel modes are only some. No matter how you're traveling, these bridges keep Seattle moving and support our vibrant economy. And that's why you'll see how we're recognizing that. The average age of a Seattle bridge is 60 years old. If you're my age, that seems sort of young. But for bridge talk, that's not young. That's compared to 47 years nationally. And we have multiple bridges over 100 years old. So our investments to upgrade the mechanical systems to keep our bridges working, to prolong their lifespan, to be proactive, to reduce closures and unscheduled outages. So that's part of what we're trying to do. I want to talk about connected neighborhoods. We will improve walking and biking connections to schools and light rail stations, improve public spaces for people to walk, play, and enjoy outdoors. Again, we want to thank our educators and our administrators. We have to protect our children. And again, that's why we, on this beautiful, yes. We have to protect our children because surely we know how important they are to a great, thriving city. Sustainability and reduction of emissions. We will install electric vehicle charging stations and create low pollution neighborhood in a very strategic way. We'll expand tree canopy and tree species in terms of their diversity. Now, why would we do that in this particular levy, I've been asked. SDOT plays a vital role in keeping the Emerald City green and supporting our One Seattle tree plan with over 100,000 trees lining our streets and sidewalks. So part of this levy, we will extend and create more neighborhood greenways, which create, again, safer and calmer routes for people walking and biking. We'll build over 160 projects that improve transit reliability, equity, and once again, safety. Now, in doing this is part of our economic recovery and supporting of good jobs. We're looking downtown on our 3rd Avenue corridor. We'll make critical safety improvements down to 3rd Avenue. And again, freight. You've heard me do a lot of talk this week about freight improvements. And indeed, when we look at what happened in Baltimore, that was one of the serious economic effects, is how it affected freight. So we are planning and getting ahead of that type of situation with our freight improvements, paving, and focusing repairs on major truck streets to support the delivering of goods and services and businesses. For the last 18 years, our voters have supported levies, and they've made essential investments, improvements to our sidewalks, bridges, and signals, and even more. So this particular draft levy proposal, and I emphasize draft again because we're still working on this, again, is based on community input and research into our needs. Again, we understand affordability for residents. We understand that because in a lot of the work we do, in fact, this week, almost every night, my executive team have been meeting 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, looking at how we can keep our city more affordable. That is always a challenge that we're trying to get in front of. But the fact of the matter is our city budget, like cities throughout the state, we cannot keep pace with the cost of materials, labors, and growth. So we try to calibrate or balance this levy with the needs of people who will ultimately pay. We have to prove to them, make the argument, if you will, as to why this is needed to keep our city safe. Now, again, this proposal is not the end of the discussion, but the start of a new conversation. Your input and engagement is essential to defining the future of our transportation system. So we're going to ask you now to please share your feedback and ideas with SDOT leadership and SDOT members over the next month. We'll plan to share this plan and I will be personally meeting with many of the stakeholders and the advocates, and we'll use that input to form our final levy proposal, which will then go to the council next month. And we look forward to collaborating on a shared commitment with the Seattle City Council to a safe, reliable, and connected and sustainable Seattle. And again, now you see, this is a sign. It stopped raining when I started talking. That's a sign that the city's ready for this impressive levy that we put the work in. And I want to thank all of you for listening to me start this discussion, and the discussion will continue. And with that, Greg Spots, I think I'll hand it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Harrell. Let the sun shine, let the rain stop. Before I introduce the next speaker, I'd like to recognize some people who've worked very, very hard on this proposal. Deputy Mayor Adia Memory, thank you for your leadership and your support. And I'd like to thank some of my team at SDOT, the executive sponsor of this project, Senior Deputy Director Francisca Stefan, project leader Megan Shepard, project team members Megan Hoyt, Emily Reardon, Dan Anderson, Serena Lehman, and Katie Olson. Thank you all so much. And on Adium's team, Elliot and Adonis, thank you guys too as well. One of the priorities in our levy proposal is making investments in the streets that connect us to current and future light rail stations. So now I would like to introduce one of the region's long-standing transportation leaders and a good friend of SDOT, Jaron Sparman, Interim CEO of Sound Transit.
Thank you, Greg, for that warm greeting. And good afternoon, everyone, on this beautiful Seattle afternoon. It's pretty nice, isn't it? I want to thank Greg, and I want to thank Mayor Harrell for inviting me to give some brief comments here today. And I will remind everyone, not only is Mayor Harrell a key leader for the city of Seattle when it comes to leading the Seattle Department of Transportation, and everything the city does, is also an absolutely key board member on the Seattle Transit Board. Mayor Harrell, I appreciate your strong leadership in that regard. As some of you know, and I know many people in the audience here, I've pretty much dedicated my career to improve how people get around. And I know how essential this transportation levy, especially this transportation levy that funds so much of the Seattle Department of Transportation, how that supports Sound Transit's mission, my agency's mission, of connecting more people to more places. That is the core function that my agency is working on. And we have a very large, massive program that will play out over decades to make that vision a reality. Transit links people to jobs, housing, and most of all to opportunity. And that is a key issue for everyone's well-being in the central Puget Sound region. And remember, Sound Transit is a regional agency, but Seattle is at the heart of that regional system. Over the next 15 years, Sound Transit will be expanding light rail to West Seattle, to Ballard, and adding a station in the Rainier Valley at Graham Street. And I don't want to steal Greg's thunder here, but I will mention that there was a press release this afternoon setting the opening date for a light rail extension from Northgate to Linwood. And that is happening on August 30th. That's the ribbon cutting for that effort. Thank you. And I was also piled on a little bit. On April 27th, we're opening the East Link starter line that is connecting the South Bellevue Park and Ride to basically the High Technology Center on the Microsoft campus. So that is happening very soon, to be followed by connecting the rest of East Link across Lake Washington to Line 1 in the International District. So a lot of very exciting projects are happening over the next few years. But back to what's really important and what we're here to talk about today, which is the Seattle Transportation Levy. This transportation levy will provide critical funds for projects that give people safe and convenient access to Sound Transit's new and current light rail stations. And let's face it, without that accessibility to My System's stations, we are wasting our money building it, because it's all about giving people access to use the system. It's absolutely critical. This levy builds on an 18-year legacy of transportation levies that Seattle has been doing, working in partnership with Sound Transit, King County Metro, to build out this comprehensive system that works for everyone and is aligned with the growing light rail network that I just described. I really applaud Mayor Harrell and the SDOT Director Spots for supporting transit investments, and most especially for their vital partnership working with my agency to achieve a true regional vision that establishes a sustainable and thriving and connected region. So my thanks to everyone who's been working so hard on this effort, and I look forward to the continuing conversation to come up with a really good, strong levy that passes the voters this November. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. The kids are coming out. We were hoping that this was going to happen. It happened at just the right moment. Watch this. Cities thrive when it's safe and attractive for kids to walk, bike, and use transit to get to school. And levy funding supports Seattle's award-winning Safe Routes to School program. So now I would like to introduce Tony Talbert, principal of Dunlop Elementary.
Well, hello, everyone. So, I'm used to those voices out there. I am Tony Talbert, the proud principal of Dunlap Elementary School. You can't see us, but if you took a safe walk around this building, you would see Dunlap. I am here to support safe routes, healthy streets for our kids in schools with the support of the Transportation Department and SDOT. We have been involved with SDOT last year and this year. We have a magnificent PE teacher, Molly Blair. You may not know that name, but put it in your pocket. She has been at Dunlap for 30 years. SDOT has supported her in the Let's Go project. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you about it. SDOT has funded bikes for our third, fourth, and fifth graders. You may think that all students know how to ride bikes, but our physical education teacher, Molly Blair, taught every third grader, every fourth grader, and every fifth grader how to ride a bike in the Let's Go program. It's not just at Dunlap. It's at every single elementary school in Seattle, and hopefully middle school as well. We want everyone to be active with riding and safety. Some of our parents will drive their students to school because they don't know about our safe routes. But now, thanks to SDOT and transportation, we have been walking. It's called the Walk Bus and the Bike Bus. We started last year walking and biking. I even took out my old 10-speed bike. I dusted it off. And to support the safe routes to school, we would meet up Othello, and I rode my bike to school with the students and the parents. It's a healthy route. We have speed bumps. We have signage. And what's so important about the healthy routes, because it's the signage that's really important, the cars stop for us. The parents know their students are safe. I know the students are safe. So because for our future of our kids, safety is of the utmost priority for us. Without the transportation levy and the support of SDOT, we wouldn't have safe routes in our schools. We want our children to feel safe when they walk, roll, or ride a bus. We want them to know that when they are anywhere in the neighborhood, they will feel safe. It's called healthy because we don't want them to think about anything dangerous. We have kindergarten through fifth grade students, from the little ones to the larger ones. So for the future of our students, please think about our transportation levies and the support of SDOT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is one of Seattle's most passionate and knowledgeable advocates for low carbon mobility. And he also has an encyclopedic knowledge of the bus system. I'd like to introduce my friend Kirk Hovenkotter, Director of the Transportation Choices Coalition.
Hi all. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mayor Harrell. I'm Kirk Hovenkotter. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Choices Coalition. And personally, it means a lot to me to have this levy be announced here next to Dunlop Elementary. Back in 2009, I taught pedestrian safety education to second graders at that very school. Tragically, the reason we were there was because a student was hit by a car nearby. I knew that no matter how good of an educator I was, the thing that was going to make those school kids safe were sidewalks and crosswalks between their neighborhoods, their schools, and their community centers. We've come a long ways since then, and we still have work to do. Today, I'm honored to stand with the mayor and community leaders to announce a proposal that will help make our city safer and more connected for those second graders who are now in graduating college, which is wild, for a whole nother graduation of school kids, and for every resident of Seattle. Transportation Choices Coalition is the advocate for safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation across Washington state. We know that Seattle's transportation needs are enormous. This levy proposal is a big commitment towards meeting those needs. It is the largest levy in the city's history. I want to commend the mayor and the city leadership who took on this challenge, the staff who have shaped this levy over the last year, and the community of transportation advocates across Seattle who are working tirelessly to make our city's streets better. Seattleites understand there's an urgent need for these big investments. The number of people hurt biking or walking is trending upwards. The majority of our climate emissions come from people driving. And every day, buses are stuck in traffic, making people late to school pickup and drop off and healthcare appointments. 9 years ago, our organization was honored to lead the campaign that won the passage of the previous Move Seattle levy. All around the city at this very moment, people are benefiting from those investments. Today, we can bike safely on the new Green Lake Path. We can also bike along the bustling Westlake Trail. Neighbors can walk and roll along 250 blocks of sidewalks and curb ramps. And working families can better rely on buses like the 7 to get them home on time thanks to new bus lanes, signals, and bus stops. It's hard to imagine that all of those didn't exist back in 2015 when the last levy was passed. By the end of this levy in 2032, this proposal will build more of those investments in streets, trails, and transit that bring people joy and make it safe for them to get where they need to go. The Seattle Transportation Levy will make the city more affordable, accessible, and inclusive. But we recognize that the need is enormous. We look forward to working with the mayor, the council, and staff to ensure this levy does as much as it can to build safe sidewalks, bike routes, make buses run more reliably, and connect more neighborhoods with accessible routes to light rail. Transportation Choices commends Mayor Harrell on this levy proposal, and we're excited to work with the mayor and council on these finishing touches on it. Thank you for your time.
We have one more speaker, and she has to do with how all this work gets done. And let's hear it for the workers who work out there on the streets in all weather, building and maintaining our transportation infrastructure. I'm known at SDOT for showing up unannounced at the construction site on a public transportation. I get off the bus and greet everybody. And I'll tell you, up in this region, you have to be willing and able to work in all conditions to do street work up here where it rains 165 days a year. But additionally, when we make investments in our transportation infrastructure, we're producing local jobs with excellent pay and benefits. And the money we invest in our infrastructure goes right back into our communities and to people who own homes and pay taxes. It has a multiplier effect in our economy. So I'm proud to introduce Katie Garrow, Executive Secretary Treasurer at MLK Labor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Garrow, and I lead MLK Labor AFL-CIO. I'd like to thank first the members of print, broadcast, and TV media for being here today, members of CWA, SAG-AFTRA, IBEW, and IATSE for telling our stories and ensuring that voters know the truth. I have the great honor of representing thousands of workers who pave our roads, build our bridges, install electric vehicle charging stations, drive truck, drive the bus, drive your Uber, pick up the garbage, and hundreds of thousands more who drive, bus, and walk to work every day here in King County. Working Seattleites don't need studies or PowerPoints to convince us that our roads, bridges, and sidewalks are in bad shape. We live it every day. Some of us known as super commuters, people who drive more than 90 minutes each way to and from work. 3 hours of unpaid labor we give every day. This morning, I drove an hour and 47 minutes from my home in Federal Way to a meeting in North Seattle. Every day, I hold my breath as I drive across the First Avenue Bridge to the Labor Temple in Soto, because I think about the bridge collapse, a stark reminder in Baltimore that only 26% of our bridges are considered good condition according to standardized national measures. On winter nights leaving my office, I drive 10 under the speed limit to ensure that I don't clip a pedestrian in the Soto neighborhood where there are not good crosswalks or signals. Fortunately, traffic and transportation are not like the weather. They are not beyond our control. We can improve commute times, we can prevent tragedies, and we can help children get to school safely on foot. Working people in our region are willing and ready to do our part to address the woefully inadequate transportation infrastructure of our region. We know that you cannot, in fact, get more with less. This is a serious problem in our region, and it demands serious and substantial investment. We look forward to reviewing the mayor's $1.35 billion plan and advocating for substantial improvements to Seattle's biggest nuisance. Thank you.
9 years ago, when you were on the city council, you specifically amended the transportation levy to include the accessible Mount Baker full revamp. Is it still a priority for you to get that project done?
So I've been advised, thank you for reminding me, that's an outstanding project, not particularly to comment on specific projects at this phase, because again, the next month we're going to be very project specific. I'll leave it there unless someone else wanted to comment on the Mount Baker project. Did you want to? I'm a few bars.
I think that's good.
Okay, so we're going to have those conversations. We're going to be very project specific here in the next month, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for the question. And I did want to correct one other thing during the presentation. Greg Spots said it rained so many days. I say, look, it doesn't rain over 200 days here in Seattle. That's how I look at it. Go ahead, David.
There was some. It felt like the Move Seattle had made some overpromises. They needed to do a reset at one point. How is the process different through this levy that will guarantee that there's not sort of an overpromise, that the things that are in this will actually be delivered?
Yeah, I'll hum a few bars and someone could take it from here. But I've been very candid about the last levy. I carry with me almost every levy, whether it's our levy, the county levy, the school district levy. To look at the map of levies, we had a very unfortunate pandemic that affected the world. It hurt a lot of people in many ways, and it caused a supply chain challenge. And unfortunately, we didn't meet some of the expectations that people had. I want to again applaud SDOT that in the last couple of years, I think they've had a sense of urgency and completion. But one thing about a capital project, you don't want to rush it. You want to do it right. And what I appreciate about Katie's remarks is how much we continue to value our laborers. And so as we have a discussion to get this new levy we are proposing passed, we're going to just be open and transparent about some of the hiccups we had during the past levy. But again, those are conditions that no one even imagined. And quite candidly, I've been a little critical of the city when I wasn't working with the city, because I was wondering what could have been done from a planning standpoint, even while we were dealing with COVID. A lot of the work we're doing, a lot of the systems work we're doing, we could have done it during COVID, but I'm not going to second guess anyone that were in any positions. Right now, as I said earlier, we have to move forward. We have to convince the voters that we know how to work efficiently and effectively. I believe in my labor force. I believe in my management. I believe in my leadership. And that's what we're going to tell the voters when they continue to question what happened in the past levy.
Mayor, the budget shortfall is looming. It's growing as a result of the passage of the bill this week to $245 million. You've asked departments to cut back on their spending, hiring freezes. It's been said that the Move Seattle levy was 30% of the transportation budget. So are you going to be asking the Department of Transportation to cut back on their spending at the same time you ask voters to increase spending?
That's a good question, Chris. That's not how we're approaching it. That is not how we describe what we're trying to do. Two separate issues. Forget about the budget shortfall for the moment. This is the right thing to do for the city, regardless as to our budget challenges. This is the right thing to do. It's the right amount of money, we think. But again, I'm just being candid. I'm known for my candor and my transparency. We're still talking to groups. This is a proposal. The budget shortfall is another issue. And my executive team, working with department heads, we are rolling up our sleeves to figure out how to keep things effectively moving forward without jeopardizing the essential services that the public wants. That is our job. We don't run from that. We are prepared for that. I have smart people, much smarter people than me, that I surround myself with to figure this out. So we have ideas that we'll work through. And I'm very proud of the city coalition of the city coalition of unions, of the deal that we reached and the council passed for our employees. I believe in my employees. If I'm not willing to invest in them, then I better get another job. And so I say that the budget challenges that we have, we are working very feverishly on them. We'll present a balanced budget to the council, and we collectively, in a one Seattle manner, will reach progress and victory together. That's the work. That's why we were literally at our office last night till 9 o'clock looking at this. This is real strategic work, and quite honestly, it gives us the opportunity to reevaluate how government works. That's the beauty of what we're doing. So we're not panicked. We are looking at this strategically, and I need my employees to know that's how we're going about this. That's how we're going about this. So one doesn't offset the other, and that's not how we're approaching the project. Okay, we'll take no more questions, hopefully. Yes.
Madison from King 5.
Madison.
Question for people who are struggling to meet ends meet, those who see the price going up for a median homeowner about $12. What is your message for those who do not want to pay more every month?
Let's talk about that a little bit. That's a great question. The amount of the beginning of the discussion, $1.35 billion. That wasn't pulled out of thin air. We've talked to everyone realizing the price of bread, the price of gas, the price of eggs, what people want. We realize we're a growing city. We could have asked for $2 billion or $3 billion or $4 billion. So we tried to reach amount with that lens in mind for that veteran that's on a fixed income, for that teacher that's teaching our kids that struggle. So we think this is the ballpark of the correct amount, being sensitive to the needs of people that still have challenges with their property taxes. Separate from that, I do work very closely with the county on looking at who are exempt from certain taxes and how we can make sure that those on fixed income and on reduced income can have relief when they need it. In addition to the fact that if you look at one of the projects we undertook since I've been mayor, our Civi Forum, what we're showing to people that are struggling to live in Seattle, we're showing them one forum where they can get a reduction on their utility bills, a reduction on their power bills, a reduction on their water bills, a reduction on certain fees charged at a community center. We are aggressive there because my mom and dad, many of you know, they weren't of a high income situation. And so when I look at these little kids that come out of these schools, I see myself growing up in Seattle public schools. So we think we reached the right balance as we roll out this proposal with that lens in mind. Thank you for that question. Okay, we're good? Chris, I know you got a Sonic question for me, right? No Sonic question, okay. 3, 2, 1, Seattle. Thank you very much for being here.